Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me into the next episode of my Shadow Arena Beginner's Guide. My name is Wilkie and this video's topic is about the map and all its features. So starting off with a basic thing, you can press tab to bring up the map and all its features as soon as you are in the waiting room or the lobby, if you will. Though there is not a whole lot to it. A little side note here, this is the Serendia part of Black Desert. If you played Black Desert, this should be familiar. It's almost identical. There are a few changes though, truth be told. So, as you are in the lobby or the waiting room, there's not a whole lot on the map itself. Essentially, you just see the arrow, and this is your current location, and that's to it. On the right side of the map though, you can see a few things. Starting from top to bottom, you can see. So the first thing at the top are called ancient altars, and the first one from those is the random one with a question mark on the map. You will see these icons pop up as soon as you start going into the game. This is why I said that as you're in the lobby, you don't see a whole lot of stuff happening on the map. So the first one being called the ancient altar random, which is marked with a question mark on the blue circle on the map, and as the name suggests, you will get a random either buff or item / consumable depending on the RNG you get. To my knowledge, there's no way to manipulate that one, but maybe we simply haven't figured out. Also, as it stands right now, it's the only way to get a Paturum summon in the game. If you don't know what Paturum is, it's this skeletal bird that flies above and just pretty much destroys everything. The only way to get this one right now, there might be possible ways in the future as well for different ones, but right now the only way to get this one is through the random altar. Also, the random altar can give you any of the other 5 buffs listed on the right side as well. So you always take a little bit of a shot in the dark. Usually it is beneficial. Depending on the situation and your timing, you may or may not want the random one. Usually I pick the one that's closest to me, unless I have things like, for example, Owl's Eye or something I really want. Then I usually choose to walk any further. Ancient Altar Latent, similar to Paturum, it's sort of like a skeletal or machinery siege weapon. Pretty sure you've seen this one around. Very strong, especially if you get this one in the later stages of the game, where the circle is really narrow and small and people don't really have a lot of room to play around and wiggle. Not very effective early in the game because most people will just opt in to run away and its HP deteriorates over time. So even if you don't get attacked or something, I guess it's also something a lot of people don't know, that you can attack Paturum and Latent, so you can actually attack those people in there. You don't deal damage to the player, but to the vehicle, if you will, or to the summon. But over time, the HP deteriorates naturally. So meaning the earlier you get this, the more likely it's not going to be there until the very end of the game. Elixir of Life grants you a potion that recovers 8,000 HP. So for the majority of people or heroes in the game, it's almost gonna heal them full. Some are actually always gonna be overhealed, for example Haru with 8k HP. But even if you have like a hero like Oyen or Badal with 10k HP, using this item will almost always fully heal you up and has no animation. You can use this item even when being knocked down, so it's a very good heal if you're in a pinch or you get comboed. Brilliant Enlightenment grants you 5 skill points. Very effective early on. Probably not the best choice late game unless you really lack the XP or something, or you have been unlucky with RNG. Though I think out of the possible options you can get, this is one that I picked very seldom unless I really didn't have any better choices. Goddess Blessing grants you 150 AP and DP, exactly like the Sealed Relic Tower, however for a total of 5 minutes. And last but not least, Owl's Eye, this is the one I talked about earlier, grants you the same buff that you get from killing the enemy players or specters. Likewise, if you use the blue potion, you will see enemies on the map as this green square-shaped icon permanently. I think this is probably one of the most beloved things by me because this buff lasts permanently, so if you get this one early or very early in the game, best case from the first Shadow Lord, you will get to keep this buff the whole fight. Really cool thing. Really allows you to see people much more clearly, especially if there is a lot of stuff happening. Very neat buff. All these altars have one thing in common. You do need to activate them. And to activate them, you do need to get the killing blow on a Shadow Lord. It doesn't matter if you pick up the item or not, as long as you're the player that deals the last hit on the Shadow Lord and bring each Shadow Lord to death, you will be rewarded with 2 buffs. The first one being a natural HP regen, similar to as you kill another player or you use a potion. The second one, this little, I'd like to call it heart-shaped icon, is the second buff that you will be rewarded when you kill a Shadow Lord. Killing those lets you activate those altars. You can activate those simply by being in the near vicinity. You don't exactly have to stand on the pedestal, but if you're a few steps away from it, it already starts to activate. It takes a few seconds, so keep this in mind. It's not like just running across it. You do have to stand there for a few seconds. There's going to be an animation playing, the buff will be consumed, and an item is going to be displayed. Destroying said item will then allow you to pick up either a buff, a summon, a potion, depending on if you picked one that you know what's in there, or if it's a random one, you have to destroy the spawn. Usually it's a circle or a cube if you take the random one. I haven't seen the ring one, because if you summon Leighton, you usually see a ring. If you destroy those, the item is then going to be on the ground, and then you can pick up whatever is left there. So the last thing that I want to mention in terms of events on the map is the Sacred Relic Tower. I already touched on it. It grants you the same buff as Goddess Blessing, 150 AP and DP. You don't need any prerequisites like for the altars. You don't need to have a Shadow Lord killed. However, the buff from the Sacred Tower only lasts 60 seconds. So it's not incredibly useful compared to the Goddess Blessing one, which lasts 5 minutes. It still can be very useful, especially if you get to snack it in the very late circles where there's only 3 or 4 people left, and there's usually not a whole much room to wiggle about. If you get the last hit on the Relic Tower and you get to engage within those 60 seconds, you will deal a pretty good amount of additional damage, as well as being a bit more protected should you end up getting comboed on by anybody else. The next thing I want to talk about are the Jumpgates. You can see these as little gray icons on the map or on your radar. They are functioning as a means of transportation, and the way they work is super simple. All you gotta do is step inside one of those and you will be flung into the direction very similar to as you start in the actual fight, or when you get killed in the grace period. It's pretty much identical to this one. You roughly cover 300 meters of distance. This may always vary depending on the altitude. If you're going from high to low, it's going to be a little bit more. If you're jumping from low to high, it's going to be a little bit less, obviously. They have a cooldown timer of 90 seconds, so whenever somebody uses them, they go on a cooldown. You can see this. If the orb is not having any shadows, any fog running down, you know that it's inactive and it still has cooldown. To see the cooldown, you do have to step inside of it and have to wait a short amount of time, and you will get the pop-up in the center of your screen telling you how long you have to wait. The last thing I want to note about here is that using one of these jump gates when there's nobody nearby will spawn a so-called Spectre. Killing a Spectre grants you at least a yellow piece of equipment, so they always drop a yellow piece, sometimes even red pieces. They are a little bit tougher to beat than bots, if you ask me. Generally, though, they are very, very valuable to kill, and if you see one, you should always try to get the kill on them. The second last thing I want to talk about are the Suspicious Cauldrons. You may have come across of those already. They are also a newer addition, just like the Jumpgates. They haven't been there with us in closed beta. I also like to call them aggro pods, but maybe that's just me. The functionality is likewise very simple again. Destroying any of these Suspicious Cauldrons will aggravate every mob within 50 meters of the killing blow. This is super good, especially in high density areas. The one I just destroyed here was already a very neat yield. So every mob within the vicinity or 50 meters around the killing spawn will come aggroing towards you. And I will show you different footage here where I killed another one in a much denser area. You can see the amount of mobs coming to us. Now, Badal is not necessarily the best PvE hero. Still though, this speeds up the farming process, so whenever you come across a Suspicious Cauldron that's in a well-placed location, I highly recommend destroying them. You will never farm faster, obviously, unless you kill enemy players, but in terms of PvE, this is the fastest way for you to mass up mobs, get quick gear, skill points, and all other loot. You can spot them by checking around for this little fog or dust or mist coming up. They're very visible, so it's not hard to spot them. However, the spawn is random and they don't appear on the map, so you don't see any of the cauldron icons on the map. It is always random. Sometimes I spot a lot, sometimes I don't see one the whole fight. So that's just an RNG part of the game. Still, I think a very nice addition, and I'd highly recommend paying attention to your surroundings, and if you see the fog coming up somewhere and you know that there's a lot of mobs around there, I would definitely go for it and see how much loot I can get. Last but not least, let's talk about the very basic thing, the zone or the zones you have to see. The very basic one is here, the fog wall. Similar to any other BR game, stepping outside of this safe zone, I'd like to call it, will start dealing periodic damage to you. Unlike other BRs though, it's not only the small ticks of damage you take here, but also the hungry black spirit will start attacking you if you reside within this area. Also, being in the fog wall or in the fog area, it reduces your DP by 50% and also increases your movement speed. So you do take more damage, which can be good. For example, if you push people out there, or you're like on the combo reel and you know they don't have any E or Q up so they can't escape, and you manage to get them out there, you will deal in additional damage. Also, the speed buff helps you to get back inside the safe zone faster, or if you end up being in a very bad position or you try to get that Shadow Lord in the fog wall or maybe an altar you wanted to get, this allows you to travel at a quicker pace, giving you still some room to play around with. It's not like a finite version, like going into the fog wall doesn't instantly kill you. It's not advised unless you know what you're doing, and it plays a very strategic element later in the game. However, you should definitely know what you're doing if you try to roam around here. The second zone is, you see the yellow circle here and then the red circle. This is pretty much just showing you where the zone is going to go, so you can sort of prepare. Alright, I know the circle is going to move left or like up or something. You can potentially prepare and move in this direction already. You don't have to, it just really is an indicator to show you where the game is heading. The last zone that is a little bit different is the HP recovery zone, the green circle. Residing in this circle increases your HP recovery. Now this is meant sorta to encourage people to fight or pick up fights, because they will have an increased recovery, so they don't have to chuck that many potions. Truth be told, it's not a whole lot of HP you're recovering in there. However, if you end up having like 1 or 2 tough fights or maybe bad fights and you went out of as the loser, you got defeated but you didn't die because you managed to blink out or something, or the enemy dropped his combo, got picked off, and you don't have a lot of potions left, it's very advisable to stay within this recovery center or recovery zone to stop you from burning all of your potions. So this does actually add a strategic element to your placement and positioning. I for myself usually don't pay attention to it all that much unless I do have a set fight or something, like I'm very low in the late game and I only have like 2 potions or maybe none at all, and I know the enemy has the upper hand because they have more HP than I do. Then I try to get myself somehow in the circle to recoup my HP faster. This concludes my map guide and all the events that happen around here. As usual, if you have anything that is unclear or maybe haven't provided enough information or maybe caused some confusion, feel free to let me know. I will proceed to create more of these videos. I'm not sure if I'm going to be pushing out another one this week, if not next week. As far as the rest goes, as usual, hit me up on any of your social media, YouTube, Twitch, whatever else that is your favorite platform. And hopefully I will see you guys next match, on the next video, on the next stream, or just leave me a comment down in the section below and I will happily chat with you. So have a good one, and I will see you guys next time.